The other question I would like to ask is like consent is very important when people want to basically permit these companies on what data they might collect on their subjects. However, like there are these situations like, for example, when someone allows these companies to collect the data on themselves, they still have access to go to their friends and then extract information and data from them. So they haven't consented the latter, but the users have consented. So how can that be tackled, and how can it be like put in a system where these companies might not be allowed to do that in future?
Well, it's very difficult. For consent is really an ambiguous area. So in this particular case, for that app, actually the people's consent was asked. But what is not asked of them, what is going to be done with this data? Because the things that you can do with the data you collect, for example, people were not necessarily revealed that it was going to be sold for advertising purposes. Their consent was not asked for that. It said that it was a legitimate academic research, which was, but this academic research wanted to model human behavior. And on the basis of that, they also provided that information of that model to companies that sell advertising. So there was like a strange and dangerous boundary mixing between academic research and private commercial research and selling of data. But consent was there for people who use the app itself.
What were their friends?
No, this is a different part of the data. So the first controversy is about, or was about, an app that an academic researcher in University of Cambridge generated and asked people to use the app and ask their consent for it and collect the data about them. But as part of this data, also to be able to augment it, Facebook provided another set of data. This is the original 57 million and then became 87 million people who liked or disliked friend and not friended people. So these two sets of data. Now for this, they did not have consent, Facebook. And that's why Zuckerberg was actually on hot seat rather than the academic, University of Cambridge academic, because he did ask for consent. It raises other ethical issues about creating an app and doing this kind of thing, but consent is not one of them. Whereas Zuckerberg was responsible specifically, how could you provide the data for purposes that people did not consent to? And so this is also the difficult thing. Where do you draw the boundaries between what is being consented to and what is not consented? It just so quickly cross over from one to the other on online world. And constantly changing terms of reference, it's very difficult to, that's why comprehensive regulation has to be brought in. And it cannot be left to these companies. The money that they make obviously is lucrative. What, Facebook is second or third most valuable company in the world? I don't know its worth. Apple is the most valuable. Of course, Apple does not only make its money from data that it collects, and it says it doesn't sell, but also it does its own AI and algorithmic calculations, and at least it allows it to sell its own products. So complex.
With the recent Facebook and Cambridge Analytica scandals, we saw a Twitter hashtag which was called Delete Facebook. Do you think we are seeing a backlash against the way that data is collected on individuals, or will people just carry on using data in the same way, or using these websites in the same way that they've always done?
I think the latter. People will continue. These things like just sort of explode into the public agenda and then people forget about it. It's just everyday life is now become so conveniently dependent on making these connections. Now we have a generation that's grown up with it and doesn't know any other way of connecting. I myself have never been on Facebook. Maybe I have and deleted many years ago. I'm sure an email will come and remind me that for years I've been collected of data on it, but knowingly I have not been on Facebook. But And I've been on and off Twitter several times. I just get mad and just like delete it and so on. And then so I have like one moniker or whatever the avatar or name, Engin F. Aysen, my full name, like Engin F. E-N-G-I-N F. Aysen. So I got E-N-G-I-N Aysen 1, E-N-G-I-N 2, 3 Twitter accounts. So I'm at 9 or something like that, right? Just constantly creating ones. I think people will continue. And that's a concern. What are we going to do about that? I don't know if you agree with my view that there is now a generation for whom it's just like so natural, they cannot imagine themselves outside this Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on, that people don't even... I was told once when I asked, like, can you send me an email, that I was so old-fashioned. Like, who communicates via email now? What's your WhatsApp thing or whatever, right? It's just like it's moved on. And people are constantly on with these things. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Which ones are you on? Do you think it's as natural as people think? Yeah, because it's also free service, right? But there are other free services. There are 2 I will mention, which I use, but this is genuinely like social, becomes political. So one of them, I don't know if you heard, Signal. Okay, this is the equivalent of WhatsApp, just text messaging, but it's not only end-to-end encrypted, but also the company does not have access to inside encryption because encryption key resides with you. And this was created by people who have good connections to Edward Snowden and other activists. So I use that. Signal is like really it doesn't also allow metadata. So it works. The second one that works is called Proton Mail. As you know, there's not even a version of mail that is encrypted. Every mail that you send, Gmail, Apple, and so on, is sucked into data mining systems and then investigated. There is an email system called Proton Mail. Like Signal, it's end-to-end encryption and solid built, right? Okay, the problem is I have no friends who uses them. So I'm isolated. This is when social becomes political. Like my students, for example, when I brought them to London from Paris, they were so excited. Okay, Engin, let's just like set up a group so we can communicate with one another. I said, Signal. What? Right? Nobody knew. What Signal? WhatsApp. So we were, okay, WhatsApp. Of course, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. And you know the rest. So it's like, unless we collectively make a point about this, there is technology, but people are not using it. And there used to be the argument that these technologies require techie people. That's not true. Like, Signal is not more techie than WhatsApp. Proton Mail is not more techie than Gmail. But people are not using it, so I'm there all by myself. What is the point of me using Proton Mail, sending an encrypted, but it's decrypted at the other end, and it's available, it's sucked out of that hard disk? It beats the purpose. Does this make you a bit bluesy, down? But that is the politics in which we find ourselves now.